Hey, welcome back. So this is going to be the next project I've got going here. Another Bachmann Spectrum 44 tonner from a client handed me this TCS MC4 decoder. I've worked with some of these smaller ones similar to this TCS one on some N scale last year. Some N-scale locomotives. And this is what I've got. Now, this Bachmann Spectrum is a bit different than what I'm used to. I took it apart last night, but I put it back together to show you the disassembly we're going to do. This is the Bachmann Spectrum right here. Let's move that over. So, it is a nifty Santa Fe. Let's take that out of the box. Let's see what we've got. Right here. So this is an older DC version. These can be quite difficult to do. There are dual motors in each truck. But we're going to attack it anyway, as if it was a regular installation. My client said, go ahead, go for it. I have a couple of options I'm thinking here, okay? We hook the decoder up to both trucks, which is what hopefully we can end up doing. Or there's another possibility. There are several things you can do with these. You can pop in two decoders. However, there isn't a lot of room inside of these 44 tonners. There is, and I'm sure I could find it if I wanted to, but I'm not going to go that route. You have to do a consist on both decoders. You have to set them up separately, get a consist going, and then set them back to the same address. But I can see down the road, since this is not my locomotive, it's going to go out to a client, that they may have difficulty in the future doing that, because they're not very familiar with, decoder setups, decoder programming. So we don't want to go that route. However, I may try it with one of the motors, take the other one out, make sure all contact is, all track connections are good here. If we get track power on all four trucks, that might be a possibility. I don't know yet. So it's always different with these guys. So we'll go about the process and we'll take this guy apart, and I'll let you get a better look at what's going on. Okay. So to disassemble these, you have two screws right here. You pretty much unscrew those and it lifts out. However, I found that I need to take at least one of the couplers out to clear the chassis once you do unscrew these guys here, which are pretty tight in there. Don't want to strip them. This is an older model, but it's in really good shape. Runs pretty good on DC with these two motors. So let's get these screws out. All right. And let's do this. Okay. So here you'll see that the bottom of the chassis will catch at least one underside. Actually, no, it won't. I take that back. Okay. So we're good. That's the show. So this is what we're dealing with here. You can see the dual motors. They're right above the truck. Really neat design. It's my understanding that this creates a steadier flow when you're running these DC. They really serve a great purpose. You get a nice slow speed on these guys. But when it comes to DCC, I've also read that people have issues. We want to make sure what we're trying to avoid here is that we don't go over the amperage of the single decoder we have, which once again is this MC4 decoder here, which is rated 1 to 2 amps. as we can see right here. So, and that's continuous peak. So we got to be careful there. But we are taking a chance. So there's a very good possibility that I might fry this, but that's a risk I'm going to take. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to, I want to see how it runs with one motor in it. So if I take, say, this one out, right? But here's our track leads on both sides, okay? We keep those there so that we're getting the contact here. We remove one of these motors out, and on the other one, we have to take these both apart. We're gonna have to take these trucks apart to get to the inside of the tabs, because there are tabs for the top and bottom of these motors that connect to the metal portions of the wheel down here. There's like a metal wheel chassis piece here on the bottom part. The top here is plastic. So let's go ahead and we'll see what that looks like. And here's our little board we're going to remove. Okay, so let's start by removing this top screw. Oopsies. Another screw that's on there very, very tight right now. Okay, let's put this over here. Now this should come right off, which it does. Okay, so, I see. All right, so we have some soldered areas here. I'm going to unsolder these instead of clip them. Because once again, we want to keep as much of the black wire, these track leads as possible. So I'll be right back with my soldering iron and we'll take those off. Okay, our soldering iron is heating up. It's almost there, but I think what I'm going to do, okay, is I'm going to mark, I don't know which way's the front and back on this, so but we're just going to have to keep track of what wires are what when we separate this. So I'm going to keep everything in order, but I'm going to start by marking right here, a little mark. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to mark that as our front for now. And I'm going to need to do that somewhere here on these trucks too. This whole piece comes apart. Let's put, I can see that here. It's a little brown mark. So we know that that one's going to go with that. We know that these motors, the gears face inward. So just some things to take note of when you're working on this kind of stuff. Because these 44-tonners, 45-tonner, you know, some of them, the newer ones actually clue you in with an arrow somewhere, but these do not. I do not see any indication. So that's something to think of. All right, so we've got this board loose. Let's start taking some wires out. Let me quickly grab my tweezers. Okay, so let's see what we have. So we've got these points here. We need to unsolder here, here, yeah, here and here. The other soldering points are for these older LED lights. So let's start with this one right here. All right, there's one wire out. There we go. So we got the two on this side off. Let's get over here. Let's get this one right here. Okay, and then we got one more here. which is right here. Let's take this one off. All right. Okay, we're going to set this old board aside. That's it. Whoop. All right. Should be all right in keeping track of these. We've got screws right here. Those are holding in place these trucks. Now they don't tighten all the way down. They only go so far so that these can wiggle around and have flexibility. All right, so let's unscrew one. There we go. Put that aside. We got one here. Magnetic. That's good. All right, now let's see. All right, so our big old metal chassis coming right up. Okay. There's your chassis. We can put that aside. Okay. Here's the main part of your locomotive. This is everything that makes it move. Track and motor. Let's take a closer look at one of these. Let's see if you can see it here. Okay. Each one has a right and a left power lead to the track, which I'm going to label. Here's where I marked. Let's see if we can see it. Okay, so here I marked. You may not be able to see it. Yeah, you can see it. There's a little bit of marker right on the top of this one. So I know that that forward part, okay, of course goes this way, right? And that needs to line up with this one right here. You see that little mark? So you got to give yourself some kind of a mark. You don't want to be guessing, okay? Because the minute I start working on these, and that's put off to the side, well, we kind of lose track. But we have to remember, these motors, the gears, they face inward towards the weight. Okay? All right. So that should help us to know which one is what side. But as I said a second ago, I'm just going to take, if this starts to get really confusing, I like to be prepared. So what I'm going to do, take a couple little strips of blue tape and just do this. Something. I got to do something here, you guys. So this may not even be what it is I should do, but that's what we're doing. You know? This is just my way of saying, okay, those go to that side. All right? So this way I'll remember how this thing goes. All right. Now once again, need to be very careful with these. Although I will have access to resolder them if they do crack off. Okay. So if we take a look at each one of these trucks, now we have 4 more smaller screws. Can you see them on the top there? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Those look like we need to remove them to get this top piece separated from the lower piece. Then we can get in, probably, most likely, get into the motor tabs. Now, there are little tabs that are on this motor that are touching currently against the metal, the lower metal. I'm just gonna keep these screws in here so we do not lose them and we can keep good track of them. All right. All right, so they're in there pretty good. So what I'm gonna do, and I'll be right back, okay? Oop, already our motor's moving around and out of there. But we'll be right back, okay? We're going to, I'm going to be taking a photo of what I've got so far. I'll make sure we keep track. Be back. Okay, we're back. Let's remove this guy. Doesn't look like these have to come all the way up, so let's get this overhead. There we go. Okay. So a little bit more over here, I think. Good. Okay, so, all right. Next thing I want to do, I want to mark this side the same way. Good. Okay, and these all go like that. We're going to leave those over there. I don't know if you can see those on camera. Yeah, we're going to leave those just like that while we work on these two. Okay, so that's good. So let's take a look at what we have here. So this pulls out. Okay. So there's our metal tabs. Oh, that's kind of handy now. So I want to show you this most definitely, okay? Right here, yeah. Okay, see this tab running down, and it's connected to this wire. So it's powering the trucks, but it's also powering the motor. Now we have to remove these clips. We have to cut it. We're going to leave it for the trucks. And that's going to the top motor lead. And if we turn this around, so that one's going to the top there. Now you can really see it. And the motor's going to fall out. So let's take that out since it wants to come out. And on the bottom, there's one right here. You can see it right there. That is a metal tab. Okay. And that one's coming through and it's connected here. So we have to remove those. So we'll be right back. Okay, now I left for a moment because I almost lost track of the top of each motor, which could be critical. In some instances, it very well could be. So we're going to mark those. I was able to figure out with the one I took out because there's grease. There's grease on the bottom of it, so we were able to figure it out. So I'm going to put a little dot and a little dot. Those will be the top and the top. Okay, why don't we do this top one first, because that's kind of in my way at the moment. So I'm going to clip it right about here. Yep, that's what I thought. Okay, I found that scissors on these guys will do a much better job. There we go. Okay, let's make sure we're clearing it. That's pretty good. That bottom one is still touching. So, gotta get creative here. I'm gonna try to get the skizzers in there. I like calling them skizzers, people. Okay, I got a little bit more off with the skizzers. All right, I'm gonna keep working this, you guys, and keep taking a really close look at it, making sure what I'm doing is good. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so we're zoomed in very tight here. It might be a little shaky, but what I want to show you is from this side here, okay, here you can see the top, let's see, where is it? Here it is. Here you can see the top metal tab. You see that? We cut it. If you look at this, the exact mirror image, let's turn it this way a little bit. If you look at the exact mirror image, this is what you're looking at. This is the DC version. This is how it came. You see that? This piece is coming up to the top. Here, we're preparing it for DCC, sorry. We've cut it right here, and we're good. It's not gonna touch the motor. It may look like it here, but it's not. What it can't touch are these metal contacts here. I may even trim just a little bit more off of that. But let's look at the bottom now, okay? So there's a corner of it. See that back in there? I'm gonna lift it up now. You get a closer look. If I can get it into the light and keep the motor in position, you'll see what I'm saying. Okay. There's the tab back in there. Don't look at my ugly thumb. There's the tab. It was coming up. I cut it as close as I can and I bent it down. It has good clearance from where we're going to connect our wire for DCC. Now if you look at this one here, same thing, you'll see it. Yeah, it's difficult, but it's bending up and it's touching that gold portion. So I just want to point that out to you, that that's where those clips are, and those are the clips that you need to remove for this. Okay, so let's get back at this, okay? Let's turn these in the right direction again. There are my little clip pieces there. Okay, so this one here is pretty much ready for wiring. But I'm not going to get into that yet, because what I'm going to do first, there we go, he's set right in there. You just get that gear right into that one right there, and it should run beautifully. So I'm going to go away for a minute and I'm going to work on these, and we'll be back after that. Okay, so we have all the metal clips removed, and we've got good isolation from any metal. So the next step will be to connect wiring to the motors. Okay, we can take these out. It'll be so much more convenient. So since we've got our dot on the top, we're gonna go right at it. The orange. So we've got our decoder here. Motor wires, the orange wire here, the orange goes to the top portions of the motor, and the gray goes to the bottom. So we'll be doing that next. All right. So I've temporarily taped the decoder to the middle and top of the chassis, and the shell is fitting wonderfully, so there's plenty of room for our decoder up there and any lights we wish to add. There's a little gap, so we're sitting underneath, just underneath these two tabs, but we do even have more space, because in the cab there's more space as it comes up inside of there next to our engineer. So let me put it on, I'll show you what I mean. So if you look inside, just past the engineer, underneath there you can see the decoder, it's green. And there's plenty of space. It's a bit dark, but on this side there's even more space. So we're good to run wires to the lights too. Just wanted to test fit it this way because I have an idea of how to run the wiring. Okay, so I'm placing and taping, hopefully permanently, our decoder right here. Just so this little bit of a higher spot that comes up on it is within the cab, okay? So that will be good. So we'll do that. I went ahead and I've trimmed, as you can see here, I've trimmed the orange back up to about 1 inch of the orange here, and same with the gray. So these two are right here, okay? What I'm going to do now is take those two remaining pieces, here they are, and I'm going to split them, get the right length to run to the motor here, and to run to the motor here for each. We'll attach them all, both here, and one will run this way, one will run that way. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so you want to get the solder on these tabs right here, these motor tabs. See that little bit of silver solder there? I'm doing it towards the back side of each because of where, when you put these guys back in like this and cover it back up, the only space we have to come is from the back sides. We got to run those wires after we solder them out, and then around the side. That's kind of what I'm going to do, okay? Okay, here's what we got for the motor. All three, we've got one coming from the decoder, the one going to the front, one going to the back. Okay, gray coming up, gray coming up. Same with the orange on the other side, okay? Okay, so you can't see all these connections, but if you look here, we've got our right side for track, and that right side for track, okay, is running from this black wire down to this side. This one here, okay, this one, I had to add a little length to the wire that's right here for these trucks. If you can see this one right here, okay, see it wiggling? So that travels up through here, and all three wires, this is the wire, the red from the decoder. So I just meet them all up in one spot. So all three connections are soldered here. One to the front, one going down to the back, and this one coming from the decoder. We'll tape all of that down, okay? And you can see, as I showed earlier, we've got our motor leads, orange and gray. And then it's the same for the opposite side here with the black, with the left side, okay? So we've got them all connected. Oops, sorry, let's flip that over. We have them all connected right here. All three are soldered right here. So this one runs down to the lower back here on the left side. Where'd it go? Here it is. It's hidden by the gray, but you can see as I wiggle it, it travels up, comes over here, okay, to here, and this right here is coming from the decoder. So you take the front, the back, you bring them up through these little slots if you're working on one of these, and then you connect it to the decoder. Same with the red for the right side, okay? And our motor leads, okay, back to the motor, I'm holding up all the lighting and auxiliary wires so you guys don't get confused. This is coming up a little later, but don't get confused by that. Now, for the motor wires, I did some testing to find out that when I hooked up the motors initially, I had them both set up like this. I had the orange set up to the top motor tab in there soldered, and the gray soldered to that lower one, right? That's the motor right here. I had the other side set up the same way, only to find out, and it makes sense, only to find out that it needed to be reversed like this. So orange needed to go on the bottom. Remember, we marked each motor with a black dot for the top. You have to do that. So we switched these. I switched these. So now the orange on this set of trucks and motor, which is right here, that motor there with the gear, see that? We had to switch it. Gray went to the top, orange went to the bottom. Because when both orange motor feeds were at the top and both gray feeds were at the bottom, the wheels, it was funny, they were fighting each other. See, these motors are going in at the same direction. So it only made sense that I had to reverse one of them so that we can go this way and that way. Otherwise, they were both spinning inwards or outwards, one of the two. I didn't really take a look, but I just knew it wasn't going anywhere. It kept going a little bit this way, then a little bit that way. So that's what you'll end up needing to do when you do this install, okay? So that's it for now. We've got lighting to go. I'll take you over and we'll watch it run on the test track. Okay, you guys, so we're back at the test track. I've already tested this once. I've got our shrink tubing just laid over it. I haven't really shrunk it onto the wires yet, but this is our configuration right now. So, show you how she's running, which is pretty good. Now, let me pull this back so we can get a better look at how she goes. We'll have to get this into Decoder Pro. But that's where we're at. All right, we'll have to get it into Decoder Pro, and we'll adjust that when we're all done with the install. Get nice smooth stops. But that's it for now. All right, we're on the test track for the lighting portion of this. And we've got some good lights going here. We got front, back. Okay. All right, that test is good. Next, beacon. Well, here she is. Alive and running. Santa Fe 463, 44 tonner. We are complete. We added the beacon, and what we're doing now is we've already test run it. I just need to work on some of the motor settings because it's a little abrupt right now, but everything's good. Packaged up, screwed back on, shell is secure, and let's roll. So if you're interested in how we laid out wiring underneath the shell for the front and back lighting and the rotating beacon, you can go back to a couple other previous videos of installs I have done with other 44 tonners, and you can get all that information there. That stuff wasn't recorded here because I ran into some issues shortly after that last test run with the lighting. Eventually the lighting got really wacky, and then after trying to program it, I couldn't get the lights to work again. for front and back or rotating beacon. All of that auxiliary lighting was out. So I purchased a new one. And when I test ran the new one, all the lighting worked great, but we were getting some sparks in one of the dual motors. So in the end, we ended up with just using one motor. And it works fine, and that's what you're seeing right here. It already has plenty of weight, and it can pull a lot of cars. I tested it. So those are your options for this type of install. And once again, I want to say thank you for visiting, and I hope this tutorial helps you out.